Good morning and welcome to the Bobby Moore Stand. My name's Gary and I've got a ton of things to talk to you about today. We're going to talk about sort of misunderstandings around Graham Potter, so I just want to sort of straighten that out. Also, I want to explain to you why, well, what I think, what I know will happen in this transfer window, if I'm being honest with myself. And finally, I'm going to go through all the transfer, let's call it gossip, roundup, whatever you want to say. But anyway, got a load of that to talk about as well. A lot of it is nonsense. I'll warn you now. But anyway, this might change your way of thinking a little bit. Until we, before we move on, please can you subscribe to the channel, the Bobby Moore Stand, here on YouTube. Give the video a like and hit the bell notification icon. But first of all, let's talk about Graham Potter. So, to be honest, it's been a little bit of a you know my position on this from the very start, and that is I actually wanted him. I did it when we knew the candidates were available. I looked into them and did a bit of background on Potter, and he really appealed to me. And nothing has changed. In fact, I've got even more emphatic about he's the right choice. And in 2.5 weeks, what he's achieved is nothing short of a miracle. And I'm not going to sort of dwell on this. This ain't a Graham Potter promotion show. I just want to sort of ask the question why. There are still certain people that are on the fence with him, and I really can't figure out why. It's beyond me. I'm pleased to see a couple of channels are genuinely getting behind him. And look, this ain't me saying I jump first or anything like that, because I honestly I get nothing out of that whatsoever. Being first on YouTube, is there such a thing? I don't know, because depends what time you watch YouTube for a start, doesn't it? Okay, so look, what he's done in 2.5 weeks is, first of all, galvanise the squad, bring the squad together, make them happy, make them enjoy their job, give them confidence in themselves. Players who had formerly, were really seen that they were going to fall by the wayside. Let's face it, people like Tadibo, Alvarez, to name two specifically, two players who were previously unhappy and wanted out, and rumoured to even come to blows with the former manager. Both of them have been very, very complimentary about what Graham Potter has done since he's come in. Really enjoying the roles that they're being asked to play, even though we haven't seen Steve-O play one yet. I'm sure he will. But what he did was, and I've alluded to this on previous shows, what he did was he showed them where he's heading in terms of where they are heading as a collective, in terms of his vision, and how it's going to evolve. But it's not going to be an overnight change like with Lopetegui. It's going to be a gradual change where the players are improved, and they learn their instructions, and they can feel comfortable in that system. Having said all that, 2.5 weeks. First of all, it's nice to hear the players saying things like that. Of course, it is. But really, that you could say that's just something that all players say about their manager. Oh, it's great, love the manager, because they're going to, aren't they? However, this is sort of different. This is different. I mean, look at Tadibo. Doesn't really have to talk, does he? He's off injured for 5 weeks, and rumor had it he wanted to go to Juventus. Well, apparently not anymore. So let's just have a look at what he's achieved in 2.5 weeks. Just a little list. All right. So he lost his main striker after 15 minutes of the first game. He lost his best winger after 45 minutes of the first game. 4 games, 3 solid performances, 1 tired game. Getting progressively better every game. Actually 3 young players, Skulls, Orford, and Casey, got a few minutes. All of them have got some game time, and Skulls is obviously he's had much more game time than the others, but he's clearly a lot more ready. The others, it will come, but that's like the role he's playing now, coming on from the bench. I think you're going to see the other players come back and start playing that sort of role. Paqueta is back to his best. So is Alvarez. Kudus is on his way. He's working his socks off, and it starts with hard work, doesn't it? Kilman playing as the central centre half was really impressive the other day, because he's totally two-footed, and it just suits him much more. And remember back to when I said about finding players their strengths and playing them to their strengths rather than exposing their weaknesses, which was so often done in recent years. Possession is really impressive, going up game on game, but not boring possession, not possession for the sake of possession. This is when we've got a decent amount of possession, we're also launching a decent amount of attacks as well. Wan-Bissaka and Emerson turned into wing backs, and Wan-Bissaka carrying the ball a hell of a lot the other day. The way this works is it's a system which gives the individual players, the individual talents, a certain amount of license to use their initiative and do what comes naturally. And so what that does is it empowers the players, because they are actually free within reason to try stuff out within the system, and they're not restricted, confined to a rigid role. We saw Paqueta playing as a number 9, and arguably a very very good number 9 as well. That's a nice problem to have, isn't it? Who would have thought? We've seen the XG slowly creeping up. We've seen us make more and more chances. Again, I think the Palace game was an anomaly because you're rarely going to play 3 games in a week. It's not going to happen again this season. And so when you look at all of this, and you add to that the players clearly enjoying themselves and fighting for their manager and their teammates, and apparently knowing what they're doing and understanding the instructions. When you look at all that, you sort of saying he did that in 2.5 weeks. That's something that hasn't been achieved in the last several years. We have, unfortunately, at the end of Moyes', there was a couple of good years, but at the end of Moyes' reign, the last year or two, we did make like a dartboard and invite people to throw shots at us, right? And it was, if we were playing against a decent team, it relied heavily upon the decent team not being on their game, missing their chances. It wasn't really brilliant defending as such. Sometimes it was bad finishing. Someone's got 30 attempts at goal. And with Lopetegui, a different style, but with the same result. We ended up under the cosh, but more so than Moyes being totally exposed defensively. With Moyes, it was a case that the defence wasn't really up to it anymore. With Lopetegui, it was just sometimes there wasn't even a defence there to do defending, and this is where Potter in 2.5 weeks has introduced a system that even when we're going forward, we're holding our shape and we're able to switch to a defensive formation pretty easily. Everybody knows their jobs, everybody knows their roles, so we're not getting exposed and caught out anymore. It is not the Alamo. You look at, I think Palace on paper had a lot of shots and we didn't. But again, I'll pick the Palace game out because it's the worst one. I pick it out deliberately. But even so, Palace had hardly any clear-cut goal-scoring chances, nor did Villa, apart from that first 10 minutes. Right, so when you look at that, you realise something significant has changed. We've just spent a couple of years watching our team give away, gilt-edged chance after gilt-edged chance, and in 2.5 weeks that's been fixed with the same players, with some of them injured. So if that doesn't convince you, I don't know what will. I don't think anything will. But anyway, I don't expect everybody to agree with me. It'd be a boring world if they did, wouldn't it? So I'm just going to keep, bashing this drum, and I'm going to keep taking a deep breath when something don't quite go as well as I'd hoped. But other than that, I've just got to say again, delighted. So let's move on to this one because I think you're going to find this interesting and depressing. So what can we expect from the transfer window? All right. So this is a tough one, right? So if there was a chance of us going down, David Sullivan would definitely spend money, even if we didn't have the money. He's done it before when he bought Bowen and Souček. When we need to do it in January, he'll do it. But typically, he won't do it if there's no danger of relegation because that is how they budget each year. They budget for a certain league position. I would have thought they would have budgeted for quite an unambitious league position this year because it was a new manager and new squad. So let's say they would have budgeted for, I don't know, 30th place, something like that, to 15th place maybe. Well, if you look at it like this, and this is the way he will look at it, every league position is worth 3 million approximately. And so he's going to be looking for a return on his investment, and that is the way it works. So there's only 15 games of this season to go, 15 games, and let's have a quick look at those. Let's have a look at those 15 games. I want to quickly talk through them with you. So let's put that up. So what we have is we've got a number of we've got 15 games left, starting with Chelsea away. That's a tough game in anyone's book. Brentford at home. Let's pick out the tough ones. Chelsea away, Arsenal away. We've got. I wouldn't consider Everton away overly tough because I would favour Graham Potter to get a result there, like he generally does against David Moyes. Wolves away, I think, is winnable. Liverpool away, very tough. Brighton away is tough, but there's the Brighton legacy. That's the one place Brighton Potter has come unstuck on. Actually, is away to his old team, sadly. But let's not put any faith in that. Let's away to Man United, and they're good. They're getting good now. We'll come to Marcus Rashford after, but Amorim is he was never going to fail there. He was going to struggle to start with, but what's actually happened is he's told the players how it works, and Rashford doesn't understand how it works clearly because he didn't name him, but everyone knew who he was talking about. He basically said, if somebody doesn't train properly, they're not getting into my team. I'd rather play my coach than a player who's not playing, not training properly, and that is really harsh criticism. So anyway, look, we'll come to that later. So the away games, out of these, I think we can possibly get a result at Ipswich. We might get a point at Brighton. Wolves definitely, Everton definitely. So you look at that. There's maybe a handful where we can get some points. If you look at home games, Brentford, Leicester, Newcastle, Bournemouth, Southampton, Tottenham, Nottingham Forest. I would argue, obviously, Newcastle's the most difficult one there, but they're all winnable. They're all winnable. And so I don't want to get carried away. And what I want to do is draw a picture in your mind. Draw a picture in your mind. There's 15 games left. You've just seen the fixtures. How many of those do you expect to win? Right. So if we were to plan it out and not go over the top, if we were to go, 15 games, let's go low and say we're going to win 6 of them. Yeah. We're going to win 6 more games and get a couple of draws. So 20 more points. I do expect him to do better than that, by the way. But nonetheless, not the point. We're on 27 points. We go up to 47 points. That puts us in, so 47 points puts us in 12th, 13th. It's probably more or less where we budgeted for, I'm guessing, at the start of the season. So the only way to get more points, let's say, is to go and get some players. Now, to get 50 points, 51, 52, get you about 10th, get you another, say, 9 million for 3 places. If you go to 8th, which is an outside chance of Europe, you need 60 points. That's the real big step up, right? So let's just say to get to 8th, that's 5 league places. That's 3 times 5. That's 15 million extra in Premier League payments, right? That is the extra revenue you get for finishing higher in that position. There's an outside chance of Europe, but that would be Conference League, and Conference League is not the greatest revenue raiser. There is additional ticket revenue, but I think we earned something like 15 million for that whole competition last time, if I'm right. So and that wouldn't even factor in until the following season anyway. So let's just look at the return on investment. Say absolute maximum, we could get 60 points. We could only do that by bringing players in. And if we didn't bring players in, we'd probably get 47 to 50 points anyway. So it's a 10-point swing for bringing in new players who may or may not work. Do you see what I'm saying? This is not a time when David Sullivan is going to spend 60 million on a striker. It just isn't. We're not going to buy any players. I'm sorry to break it to you, but we're not buying any players. What we will do, I would expect, is get a couple of loans. Now, I don't know what those loans. I'd prefer a loan to be somebody you could try out with a view to signing. A loan without obligation, or even in the case of Chucklemaker, a loan with obligation. That would genuinely excite me. But what doesn't excite me is a potentially very injured player like Ferguson. setting up a liability of 60 million for the club, giving us nowhere else to go in the summer where there are going to be lots more options. So I'm just saying that ain't going to happen. It's all paper talk. Well, it ain't even paper talk. It's social media talk. We're being made to look very, very busy and active in the transfer window, whereas in reality, we've put in what seemed like, a lowball bid for Duran that was unacceptable in two places, in two areas, wages and fee. I would imagine we've done the same with Ferguson, just to say no one could call us a liar and say we haven't put a bid in, but it was never going to be accepted. So it's the same thing, really, right? So that is my opinion. We are not going to sign anybody. What we're going to do is get a couple of loans. And if I was to say what I think is going to happen, it'll be a couple of cheap loans. I don't think we're going to get a loan for Chukwuemeka, a loan for someone like Ferguson. I just don't see it happening. Let me know what you think is going to happen in this transfer window. But sorry to break that to you. I mean, just to recap, if we don't spend money, 47 to 50 points. If we do spend money, about 60 points, about 10 more points, 13 more points. So where is the benefit in actually doing it? Is Graham Potter dying to get his hands on new players, or is he working with the players he's got? Seems to me he's working with the players he's got. He's got several decent players coming back from injury as well, including in April, Fulkrug. He's got Tadibo coming back in a few weeks. He's got Bowen on his way back, Somerville. You're sort of looking at that and you're thinking, yeah, we do need legs in midfield, but, he's very likely to do all right. I mean, we ain't going down. He's very likely to do all right with what he has. And it's arguable whether he would prefer to get to know this set of players first and show a bit of faith in them before replacing them. Because it does seem a bit harsh, doesn't it? A new manager coming in and just replacing people immediately. But anyway, let's talk about the transfer gossip, the bullshit roundup. You notice the thumbnail? Callum Wilson. We'll come to that. So, first of all, a bloody hilarious piece of bullshit. It's on a level, I think, with Neymar, just because this kid's really sought after. Apparently, we're in the race with Chelsea. Yes, we're racing with Chelsea to sign Bayern left winger Mathys Tel, a very sought after left winger. Well, if we're racing with Chelsea, we're going to lose the race, right? Of course, we're not racing with Chelsea. Thanks, Romano. Another valuable piece of reporting. The Neymar rumour a few weeks ago was bloody hilarious. If you saw it, it was really, really good. A special early mention as well for Andre Silva, who's definitely signing for us. I feel sure about that. So does Chris. It's only three things more certain in life. It's three things certain in life: death, taxes, and Will Salthouse will flog David Sullivan, a player. So even though it's a Silverman player. So, as I mentioned earlier, Marcus Rashford continues to be linked with us. Again, this is bullshit. We ain't paying his wages. We ain't paying that. Would we do it for a loan just to have a stab at getting a few places up the table? I even doubt that when you look at his wages. Because the extra places up the table would probably spend it on wages for Marcus Rashford. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. Evan Ferguson, well, yeah, I would think that he would be on lowish wages by comparison. And if as long as it was a loan without obligation, I'd be all right with any loan without obligation, as long as there is no obligation. We'd want to see this player first, and I think 6 months would give us time to. Well, it's definitely a decent amount of time with him getting presumably regular game time to show whether he's totally injury prone or not, an absolute liability, which I think he probably is, which is a shame. It's a shame. I could be wrong. Hope I'm wrong. But anyway, I don't think a player with that injury record is a player we should really be getting ourselves interested in or obligated to in any way. Brighton clearly want an obligation. So I'm a bit worried they know something we don't. Okay, what else we got? The media has also linked Leverkusen with Evan Ferguson because Boniface is going out to Saudi. Oh, and Arsenal want him as well, apparently. This feels like that geezer we were talking about the other day, Brian Brobby. Who Spurs are interested. Everton are interested. Moyes is going to get him. To be honest, this is just shit stirring on social media. That's what it is. So I've mentioned him once. I mentioned him again. Andre Silva. We're definitely getting him. So do some background work on him. I'm going to do that just to make sure that when he arrives, because it is inevitable. He's injured at the moment, but apparently he's, as if by magic, a miracle will happen on the last day of the transfer window, and he will declare himself fit, fit to move to a lucrative new contract. Yes, absolutely. Brian Brobby. Those rumours seem to have just gone back to where they came from. Nothing seems to be happening. I assume the I don't know whether that offer we made is still on the table or not. Who knows? Who knows? But anyway, look, we're not desperate. We're not desperate. We've now got Jared Bowen coming back, who can play as a striker. We've got another option now in Paqueta, to be honest, and we've got Fulkrug coming back. So, I don't want to. I don't want to say we don't need a striker. We absolutely do need a striker. But do we need to rush out and get one in the transfer window with 15 games to go? Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think a loaner would be all right. And again, I'm not against that with Andre Silva, to be honest. He looks he was a good player once. You know what it is with those players? They come in, they'll have at 15 games, he might have 3 or 4 decent ones in between injuries, And talking of injuries and Salthouse and Silkman people, this is a Salthouse one. Callum Wilson. The legend that is Callum Wilson. The photo that I put on the thumbnail, I think that is him celebrating just after he scored a goal, laughing at the West Ham fans when he stopped right in front of us and started irritating. Did sort of a Jamie Vardy pretty much right in front of us, took the piss. Shouldn't do that, it's distasteful. I don't remember us giving him any grief either. I don't mind if we've given a player grief and he suddenly gets a little bit of revenge. That's fine. That serves us right. I don't remember us giving him any grief. We just ignored him, right? So weird that is. It tells me the geezer's got a bit of a big ego who craves attention. We know that anyway. But most importantly, he is a good player. If he could stay fit, he's a good player. He can't stay fit. He's got his body's a bag of spanners now. It's just absolutely falling to pieces. Always injured. Always injured. Can't string 5 games together without getting some kind of strain. And it's too late in his career. If he was a youngster, I'd say do what we did with Antonio, change his training techniques and whatever else. But no, it's too late. He's proven himself to be completely, unreliable from a fitness perspective. A waste of money, in my opinion. Would I do a 6-month loan for him? Well, we are being linked. The reason I put this up there is because I did read it in 3 separate places. So I thought it is a narrative. It's probably a bullshit narrative, but it is a narrative. And it's more likely than some of the others that we would get Callum Wilson because of who his agent is. Same with Andre Silva. So I'm torn now between Andre Silva and Callum Wilson. Callum Wilson knows the league. He will score goals, he will, in the 2 games out of 15 that he's fit for. Andre Silva, I don't think he'll even score goals. I mean, who knows? Who knows? But anyway, either way, I don't care. A 6-month loan deal for somebody, don't really care who it is. If they've got a West Ham shirt on, I'll support them. Don't make me happy about it, does it? There have been a few. There's another bit of bullshit here. You'll like this. Is that Everton are in for Danny Ings? So the manager who never played Danny Ings when he managed him before wants to buy Danny Ings. Don't make me laugh. I mean, where they dig these things up from? Guillaume is now being linked to Shakhtar Donetsk in a 15 million euro deal. And also, obviously, a move back to Saudi. And we thought that was over the other day. Probably is over. It's just, again, take all this with a pinch of salt. It's just transfer gossip. Blackburn apparently want Andy Irvine on a loan without obligation, loan with obligation if they get promoted. Well, he's getting game time. I'd say no. Go away. If you want him, get promoted, you can buy him. Yeah. Then you'll be obligated. So look, that is the full roundup of the transfer news. I hope you enjoyed it. I don't see anything other than Andre Silva coming our way, if I'm being completely honest. Let me know what you think is going to happen. I mean, a good window for me would be Chuckwamaker. Yeah, someone like that who we know is a good player on loan, even with an obligation for something reasonable, 30 million, maybe 35 million, split difference. but we know he's a good player. He's the right age. He's the right sort of physicality, good fitness, and everything else. He's managed him before he knows him. So that would be pretty much a safe bet to get a player like that. But one way or another, this is leading. I don't think we need to do. I don't think we need to do any massive changes now, and the reason is we're going to have to do massive changes in the summer. You do know what's coming, right? We've still got Kurt Zuma. Look at the West Ham website. We've still got Kurt Zuma, Max Cornet, James Ward-Prowse in our first team, genuinely, and it's because Zuma's only on loan. I think they've got. I hope they've got to buy him. Whoever's got him on loan. Cornet's he's changes club every 6 months. Nobody wants him. We have two keepers who need replacing. We have no striker. We definitely need a striker. Fulkrug, he can't stay fit for a whole season if we keep him. Paqueta might face a lifetime ban over summer. Bloody hope not. It'd be a tragedy, but he might. Mavropanos might be moving on. There's a lot of stuff that can happen here. You look at Guido, he's definitely going, isn't he? You look at Soler, I think that's open. I don't think we'll keep Soler, not for 20 million. You look at the players who are out on loan and have succeeded. Benrahma had a good loan, and he's going to go to Saudi for a decent fee. We're going to get money, unexpected money there. Also, we're going to have an option with Aguerd because he could play as the left-hand side of a 3 in exactly the role that he wants to play in. So that'd be, I would think, pretty tempting for Aguerd, but he'd also want first-team football, wouldn't he? So there's a choice there. Either we'll get our money back on him, or we'll bring him back. Be like a new player. But what will be like a new player is this raft of talent that we've got. Now, you've seen, Ollie Scholes. It's definitely going to be a first-team player next year. Keelan Casey has got minutes. Lewis Alford's got minutes. They'll start to come through and play more and more. Goalkeepers. Don't forget what I said the other day. He bought a young goalkeeper for Brighton, an 18-year-old. Well, we've got Finlay Herrick, a 19-year-old England under-19 goalkeeper. Very good keeper, apparently. Don't be surprised if he gets bought through. So there's a ton of changes that we need to go through over the summer. Yeah, another massive summer of change. But we do have the safety net of some of our youth prospects coming back from good loans as well, like Freddie Potts. Now, that will be like a new player. That will be an additional first-team player we didn't know we had. Ward-Prowse, will he come back? Will we move him on? Yeah, who knows? And we've got Callum Marshall out on loan, who's doing all right. Don't know whether he's ever going to be up to the required standard, but then again, I think let's see, judge it by, I can't say I've taken much of an interest in him, so I can't really judge that. George Earthy out on loan as well. Again, I think he might end up having a second period out on loan. I think Freddie Potts is the exception because he's done, League Two, Championship. Next step is the Premier League. I think they've all got to go through that. We've got to keep picking progressive loans for these players who are not going to get a lot of game time in the first team. It's important they go and play football. So yeah, I think why would we make a couple of even one expensive signing now when we're definitely going to need that money in the summer? And so going back to what I said the other day about being able to judge Sullivan and whether he's backing the manager or not, well, I don't know. I hope he is, but I can't say whether he is or not, to be honest, because I think probably when you look at this situation, I don't think Potter genuinely will be in any panic to bring players in right now unless they are the right players. Like I said, maybe Chucklemaker, someone who's really tempting, who he knows is going to be part of where he's going. Yeah, but if you're just going to get a couple of players who might get him past this little tricky period, I'm not so sure he'd be that worried about it. And that's a beautiful position that we're now in because we've got a great manager. So that is my 2 pence on this topic. I hope I haven't made you too miserable. I did add a bit of lightness at the end there. If you've enjoyed this show, please can you subscribe to the channel, the Bobby Moore Stand on YouTube. Hit the bell notification icon and give the video a like. Really helps us with the algorithm. We will be doing. Sorry, I've lost my screen. Can't stop the show. I've got to go on forever. Nobody would want that. So yeah, we're going to do the live show tomorrow night, Thursday. 8 o'clock, me and Chris, as usual, and we're just going to see how it goes. But like I said, I don't expect any big transfer news, which is another reason why we're not doing loads of transfer shows. We'll probably round up the gossip every couple of days, but it's up to you. Take it or leave it, whether you believe it or not. I know where I am. I think I've explained that very well. Hope so. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the show. See you soon. Come in your wines.